The silence of a house. It has a sound of its own, doesn't it? Sometimes the most painful part of a story isn't the ending, but the quiet moments right before everything changes. In a small, gray house in Brighton, where the sea air smells of salt and old memories, lived a woman named Linda Parker. At 59, Linda knew the rhythm of her home by heart. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow that danced on the wall as the sun set over the English Channel. She had lived there for decades. She had watched the paint peel, and she had watched her life change. Her husband had been gone for 8 years now, leaving behind a silence that Linda tried to fill with the small tasks of a daily life. Every morning, the cold light would seep through her curtains, and Linda would wake up early. She would make a single cup of tea, the steam rising in the quiet kitchen. She would clean the house, dusting the same surfaces, polishing the same wood. She cooked for herself, simple meals, a little soup, a piece of toast. But in the evenings, when the world outside grew dark and the street lights flickered to life, the silence became heavy. Nobody came to see her. The neighbors were kind, but they had their own lives, their own noisy children, their own busy dinners. Linda had only one son, Daniel. Daniel had moved to Canada many years ago. He was successful there. A big house, a good job, a beautiful wife named Sarah, and 2 children Linda only saw in blurry photos sent through the mail. He had everything a man could want. But for Linda, Daniel was a voice on the phone, a voice that came less and less often. Sometimes a letter would arrive with money inside. Sometimes Daniel would say, "Mother, I will come soon, I promise," and Linda would believe him. She would look at his old photos, the ones when he was a boy with grass stains on his knees and a bright, messy smile. She kept those photos in her room, a small shrine to a time when the house was full of laughter and the smell of fresh baking. She looked at them every single day, waiting. Because that is what mothers do. They wait, they hope, they love, even when the love feels like a one-way street. And then, one afternoon, the unexpected happened. A knock on the door. Not the soft, hesitant knock of the postman, but a firm, familiar sound. When Linda opened the door, her heart nearly stopped. "Daniel?" she whispered. It was him. He stood there, taller than she remembered, wearing an expensive coat, looking like a man who belonged in a different world. He smiled, and for a moment, the 8 years of silence vanished. Linda hugged him, her eyes filling with tears that tasted of relief. "You really came," she said, her voice shaking. They sat in her small kitchen, and she made tea, just like she always did, but this time there were 2 cups. They talked about Sarah, about the children. Daniel told her about his big house in Canada, about the snow and the life he had built. He looked happy. He looked successful. But then Daniel's face became serious. He looked around the small, aging kitchen, at the worn linoleum and the old stove. "Mother," he said softly. "Why did you come?" she had asked. He replied, "I missed you. You're here all alone, and I worry about you. You're getting older, and it's not safe here anymore." He reached across the table and took her hand. His skin was smooth, while hers was mapped with the lines of hard work and time. He said, "I want to take you to Canada with me. You should sell this house. You don't need it anymore. You'll have your own room in our home. You'll see the grandchildren every day. Sarah wants you there too." Linda was quiet. The walls of this house were her skin. Every corner held a piece of her husband, a piece of her past. "But this is my home," she whispered. "I was born here. I was married here." But Daniel was her son, her only son, and in that moment, when he looked at her with such apparent love, she wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that the lonely evenings were over. That night, She couldn't sleep. She walked through the rooms, touching the wallpaper, saying goodbye to the shadows. It is hard to leave the only world you know for a world you have only seen in pictures. But Daniel was persistent. The next morning, he spoke of the money. "We should sell the house, Mother. Use the money for your new life in Canada. It will make everything easier." And so she did. She signed the papers. She sold the memories, the bricks, and the garden where she once planted roses. Daniel took the money. To handle the arrangements, he said. Linda packed a single bag, just the essentials, and of course, the photos. The day they left for the airport was bright and cold. Linda felt a strange mix of sadness and hope. She was leaving her country, her history, but she was going with her son. As they walked into the massive, echoing hall of the airport, the noise was overwhelming. Thousands of people, all rushing to somewhere else.
Linda felt small. Her legs were tired. The walk to the gate seemed like a mountain. Daniel noticed. "Mother, wait here," he said, pointing to a row of plastic chairs. "The way is too long. I'll go get a wheelchair for you. I'll be back in 5 minutes." Linda sat down. She clutched her bag. She watched Daniel walk away, his tall figure disappearing into the crowd. She waited. 10 minutes passed, then 20. The airport hummed around her, a sea of strangers. People laughed, people argued, people hurried past her without a glance. Linda kept her eyes on the spot where she last saw him. 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Her heart began to feel heavy, like a stone in her chest. "Daniel is just busy," she told herself. "The line must be long. He wouldn't leave me." But the fear began to cold her bones. Every face she saw was a stranger's face. 1 hour. The silence inside her was louder than the noise of the airport. She was a woman with no house, no son, and a single suitcase in a place where no one knew her name. A police officer, a man with kind eyes and a tired smile, noticed her. He had seen many people in this airport, but there was something about the way Linda sat, so still, so hopeful, yet so fragile. He walked over to her. "Ma'am?" he asked gently. "Are you waiting for someone?" Linda looked up. "Yes," she said, her voice small. "My son, Daniel. He's getting a wheelchair. We're going to Canada." The officer, Robert Miller, felt a pang of worry. He asked for a photo, and Linda showed him the picture of Daniel. He took her ticket and told her to wait just a little longer. When Robert came back, his face was different. He didn't look like a police officer anymore. He looked like a man who had to deliver a blow. He sat down next to her. "Ma'am, I am so sorry," he said softly. "Your son, he has boarded the flight. He went through the gate alone. The plane has already taken off." The world stopped. The air in the airport seemed to vanish. Linda looked at him, her eyes wide. "No," she whispered. "That's not true. Daniel loves me. He said we were going together." But the truth is a cold thing. Robert had seen the security tapes. He had seen Daniel walk through the gate, not looking back, carrying the money from the house and a ticket for one. He had left his mother on a plastic chair in the middle of a crowd. Linda cried then, not a loud cry, but a broken, quiet sobbing that seemed to come from the very center of her being. Her son, her only son, had traded her life for a bank account and a clean break. Robert didn't leave her. He stayed. He saw his own mother in Linda's face, the mother he had lost 5 years ago. He couldn't leave her there. "Please, come with me," Robert said. "You can't stay here. My wife, Olivia, she's the kindest woman I know. She'll make you a meal. You can stay with us tonight." Linda was hesitant. She didn't want to be a burden, but she had nowhere else to go. Her house was gone. Her son was gone. She was a ghost in her own country. Robert took her home. Olivia was exactly as he described, warm, generous, and full of light. She didn't ask questions. She just saw a woman in pain and opened her arms. She made Linda a bed, cooked her a warm dinner, and spoke to her with the respect and love of a daughter. In that guest room, Linda wept for everything she had lost. But even in the dark, she felt the warmth of the house, a house built on kindness, not on blood. The next morning, Robert received a phone call. He went into the other room, his voice a low murmur. When he came back, his face was full of a secret pain.
What he didn't tell Linda was this. The flight Daniel had taken, the one he boarded with her money and his hollow promises, it had crashed over the Atlantic. There were no survivors. Robert looked at Linda, who was sitting at the table, her hands trembling as she held a cup of tea. He knew she still loved her son. He knew that for all his cruelty, Daniel was still her boy. He decided then to keep that truth to himself. He wanted her to remember the son she thought she had, not the one who vanished. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. Linda never left Robert and Olivia's home. She became their Grammy. She helped Olivia in the garden, planting the same roses she once had in Brighton. She sat with Robert in the evenings, telling him stories about the sea. Robert took care of her. He took her to the doctor, he bought her medicine, and he treated her with a devotion that Daniel never had. One day, as they sat on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Robert asked her, "Do you ever think about going back to Brighton, Linda?" Linda looked at him, and then at Olivia, who was playing with their dog in the yard. She smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. "I lost a house," she said softly, "but I found a home. I lost a son, but I found the family I was always meant to have." Sometimes life takes away what we think we need to give us what we truly deserve. We spend so much time chasing people who don't want us, holding on to memories that only bring us pain. We think that because someone shares our blood, they must share our heart. But love, real love, isn't about biology. It's about who shows up when you're sitting alone on a plastic chair at the airport. It's about the strangers who become family. It's about the kindness that waits for us when we think we have nothing left. Linda Parker's story is a reminder that even when the ones we love let us down, the world is still full of people like Robert and Olivia. It's full of second chances and new beginnings. If you are feeling lonely today, if you feel like the house you built has been sold and you have nowhere to go, remember Linda. Keep your heart open, because sometimes the end of one road is just the beginning of a much more beautiful one. Take a moment to breathe. Look around you. See the small acts of kindness that you might be overlooking. The neighbor who says hello, the friend who sends a text, the stranger who holds the door. Those are the seeds of your new home. Those are the strings of a heart that hasn't given up on you. We all face our own airport moments, those times when we feel abandoned and lost. But the flight that leaves you behind might be the very thing that saves you from a path you were never meant to walk. And if you are the one who is thinking of leaving, thinking of breaking a promise, take a moment to look at your reflection. Ask yourself if the weight of the silver in your pocket is worth the weight of the heart you are breaking. Because in the end, we don't take our houses or our bank accounts with us. We only take the love we gave and the love we allowed ourselves to receive. So cherish the people who stand by you. Cherish the ones who bring you a cup of tea when your heart is cold. You are not alone, no matter how quiet the room feels. Open your door.
Let the salt air of a new day come in. There is a family waiting for you, even if you haven't met them yet. Keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, every day is a chance to learn better. See you in the next one. Bye.